Create with Fran Sydney. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. We are today on episode 51. More celebration, we're still here after almost a whole year of podcasting. And I'm so glad that you enjoy the episodes and I started to write very good reviews, which I find only when people alert me because I really have no way of finding out. So thank you for following this podcast, which has covered every possible topic about art, focus, and about relaxation and all sorts of stuff that has to do with being mindful of how we are living. A couple of months ago, I had a long chat with a person who works in a very high level of management, and she never had time to get home and really enjoy her husband and her 3 or 4 children. She was always so tired and she couldn't even envision going on holiday or anything similar. And I asked her, why this is going on in your life? Is it that you are impossible to replace? Do you have to be there all the time? And in the chat it turned out that this woman could not delegate anything and felt guilty if a boss has to do something, and she just had to say yes. She said yes to everything, and in one occasion she had planned a really good romantic weekend with her husband somewhere in a wonderful place in the mountains, and they were gonna go fishing and hiking, and it was all pretty much sorted. The idea was there, they knew where to go, and it was all just about to happen in a couple of weeks. But the boss of this lady came over and said, oh, can you actually work on Saturday? We have an important something. I'm not going to tell you what it is, otherwise it's too easy to find out what she was doing as a job. And she was like, yeah, sure. Because, she felt that something had to happen there and she had to say yes to the boss. But then later on she felt really bad about it and letting down her husband and not showing any interest in developing her relationship with her family. She was instead developing the one with her boss and in her job. And we had a really interesting conversation. And so I thought that today would be nice to really talk about what happens if we are adults and we always say yes. What's going on if we cannot say no? I hope that this will be of interest for you, and if so, stay tuned and we can find out a few things about it. This is going to be a short episode, so don't worry about being bored to death. It's never going to happen, isn't it? But you can always say, no, Franz, I'm not interested, and just turn off your device or move on to another episode. It's your choice. So there are a lot of people who are now adults and they're absolutely running like mad because they want to please everyone. They want to make everyone happy. Their boss, their wife or husband, their grandparents, their kids, their teacher, their sport coach, and everyone else. And the only person who they're not pleasing is themselves. Now, there is a disclaimer to be made. Of course, it is good to say yes to people. And of course, it's amazing to help others, to be helpful, and to have people know they can count on you. That's absolutely wonderful. But of course, there are sometimes occasions where we are saying yes at the expenses of our own growth or personal life and relaxation. And so there has to be a balance. So if you think that this part of your life is out of balance, keep listening. Because this yes-sayer or pleaser person is very much common at work, where we fear that the boss or the other people will not appreciate how good we are if we say no to something extra to be added to a very heavy workload. Or sometimes we procrastinate. Why and how and when we're going to talk about these people and say, well, actually it's impossible that I finish that report by Tuesday because you've already given me too much work already. And a lot of people live in a constant state of stress because they keep saying yes, but deep inside they would love to say no. And why is it difficult? I've been asking this to a lot of people, and one of the big things is that we do not like to be rejected. And a lot of us think that if we say no without a really, really good reason, people will have a negative idea or opinion about us. In other occasions, there will be a concept that if we say no to somebody, we're going to hurt this person. And so there is this interesting dichotomy where we keep doing everything for everyone, and we run all over, and we cannot do anything of all the stuff that we really want to do that regards to our own life is very important for us, but we never get around to do it. And so we have this feeling of being trapped. One of my colleagues, in fact, mentioned that about a month ago, we were talking about how busy you can be at work, and she was saying that she was working as a lawyer for a big firm, and she, in the first year, was never given a goal on how much to do. She was just working, and she was really tired, and she would say yes to every project, every new client, and everything that the boss said. And in the end, she was almost burning out in exhaustion. And then she realized that she had been working 30% more than all the others and had achieved a lot more, because she did not realize that there was a limit. There is a line that you have to trace and say, well, that's enough. I think I've been working too much. I need to take care of myself now, have some rest, and actually see my family. So what is the problem in always saying yes to everyone when it is not appropriate? And again, saying yes is amazing, but in some cases it can lead to problems. The problem are that we may become very, very tired, more tired than we can afford to be. And one thing is to be 20 or 30, and another thing is to be 40 or 50. We feel it in a different way. Another item that can be put in the agenda is how much stress we can have because we cannot say no to the boss, or maybe to a mother-in-law. That could be, a teacher, someone who keeps asking us for something that they want us to do because they don't want to do it. And so they think that we're just going to be there, always doing this for them. But of course, there is a limit there will be a personal limit to when a person will feel very cranky and will arrive home pretty much exhausted, and then it will start barking to everyone in the house because, oh, well, look at you, you have made a mess here, you haven't taken the bin, what is it you've been doing the whole day? Look at how much I worked. And that happens. And one of my friends was telling me that that's exactly what happens when she gets home. She's barking at everyone, and deep down inside she's like, oh, I wish I was not doing that, but she's doing it. And there are many reasons why we can feel trapped and exhausted, and one can be that sometimes it was going to be a lot healthier for us to say no, not yet, not today, maybe another day. So let's make 3 observations that are connected to our inability to say no. One is that we might have an old belief that we have probably developed when we were quite young, as children in fact, because of course when we say to a child, come here darling, come and sit on that chair, if a child said no, what are the parents going to say? They're going to say, oh, what a naughty boy, or you're not very good, very well behaved. We might say, you don't have good manners, or you are selfish. As a child grows up, if a teacher says, come here, Johnny, come to the front and talk to people, can you do this, can you do that? If a child says no, the teacher is going to be so shocked, So what happens is, it's very good when we are children to learn to do as we are told. But there is a place and a time when it is very appropriate to do everything we're told to do. And there is a place and a time when we have to start thinking with our head and ask ourselves if that is what we actually want to do, or are we being made guilty to feel guilty, or have we been manipulated because some other people don't want to do a certain job and would rather have us doing it because we're not going to complain. Could we always say yes, just to complain later on to our own friends because we have done so much and we are absolutely tired? So this is an old belief that we all have. When we are young, we have to be good, and when we are older, we think, well, if I say no to somebody asking me for a lift or something, People will think I'm selfish. People will not like me. In fact, we remember that our parents liked us a lot more when we were complying with their instructions. But here's the thing, we are no longer living with our parents as children, so this balance of relationship has changed, and now we have a power to start deciding what is actually best for us. I've worked also with quite a few people that have autoimmune disease or chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, and in some cases these were people that were constantly running to help everyone else but not themselves. They would not take a break until they were absolutely in pain. They just have this duty to make everyone else happy, and it always comes back to how much are we valuing ourselves as well. It is absolutely wonderful to go and serve others, but when we are neglecting our own mental wellness, our energetic aspect, how much energy we have left. And also, is this aligning with our goals, what we're doing today, or is it taking us very far? Then there is this line that we have to say, well, actually, today I'm just going to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do it. So it is important to take care of ourselves as well as we take care of one another. And these are the two things that we have to balance probably every day. In fact, for those of you who have read the Bible, might believe it or not, but everyone knows about it. There is something called the Ten Commandments, and one says, love thy God. But the second one says, love your neighbor like yourself. So if you do not love yourself, how can you truly love your neighbor? Isn't that interesting? We have to love ourselves. Now, don't worry if you don't believe in the Bible, because all therapists also say the same thing. Whether they are inspired by religious ideas or spirituality, we all believe that if we do not love ourselves, a lot of things in our life are not going to go well, because we're going to put ourselves always in the second position, in the second seat, and we're going to miss out on a lot of not only fun things, but also on the growth, because we're not growing in the direction where we're supposed to grow. And that was my first observation. My second one is that we are no longer children, and so our life should not really depend on the approval of the other people. So we should live our life in the way that we think is the correct way. And of course, we keep growing, we keep learning and changing things, changing the way we live. That's fine. So the opinion of other people should not be more important than our opinion. We have quite a big view of what is going on inside our mind, and we can make the good decision, the balanced decisions of adding something to a very busy day or not adding it. It depends on our priorities. And we all make mistakes. We might say yes, and then we're so tired we can't possibly do this, and then we have so much more problems. So one good thing that I suggest is, if you keep saying yes, yes, yes to everyone, and then you're feeling that something is not right, then there could be a little problem there. Are you valuing yourself? Do you realize that we're all unique, we're all important, so you're not less important than other people? And so sometimes we really find it healthier to say no to something that is a bit excessive, because we need to protect our own health, spiritually, mentally, energetically, or even our own family life. And this is very clear when you see people that are very stressed. These really tired individuals, they're just running like one of those rat races, and they can't stop. They think if they stop, nobody will like them. But actually, nobody expects you to run the whole day like that. Probably we have very, very high expectations, and we think that if we're not running for the whole day, nobody's going to give us appreciation. But our value is never determined by us saying yes to everyone and deleting the personal goals that we might have, the personal needs that we might have to rest and to do things. So it's always very good to evaluate what we can possibly add to our busy day, to a very busy plate of activities and things that we have to do for others, And remember to add in the calendar those important moments that we need to recharge ourselves. The problem with always saying yes, without thinking, just saying yes, 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 is that sometimes we have forgotten that we had a previous commitment, something that we really wanted to do with a loved one, or maybe it was a service project, or maybe we had to do some painting in the house or some repairs that were very important. And we keep delaying, and we say yes to this person, and we have to cancel everything else. And so there is a point when, if we had said yes, and really we should have said no, we will start feeling very guilty because we are letting down someone, or we're losing sight of our own goals. Some people just cannot pronounce the word no. So what they say is they say yes, and then they start coming up with excuses, and then in the last minute they pull out. Because, let's say it's very difficult to gather the courage to say no to people. And the question is really, what is important to me in this? Why should I do this? Is it just because I want to help people? Or is it because I fear that if I say no now, this person is not going to come to me anymore? And this happened to a few relationships. I remember a few people that were in relationships that were unbalanced, where one was using the other to do jobs in the house or for networking, and this person was always running errands for the other person in relationship because they thought, well, if I say no, that's going to be the end of it. So they were very aware that they were being used, but they couldn't do without the other person. They were very codependent. So always look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm enough, I deserve to have a life, to have some rest every day. And while it is absolutely perfect to be able to help other people, we only have 24 hours in a day. So sometimes we have just to get the calendar out and say, well, you know what, I can do this for you, but not until next week or next month, because we only have that set amount of time. We all need to rest. And here is the thing, when it comes down to coaching, we always notice when the client is sitting there with me and I hear that they're not comfortable, they're not happy with their life. A lot of the times it's because their actions are not aligned with their own goals. So they want to reach something, they wanted to lose weight, they wanted to have a better career, or they wanted to go on holiday, they wanted to maybe improve their marriage, whatever their goal was. But they're not getting there because they're sidetracked all the time. And many times this was happening because of their habit of saying yes, yes, yes. And so they were diluting, if you can use this word, their energy, their focus, their talents in loads of small spread, scattered little crumbs of effort. But they were not actually putting the effort in the goal that they really cared about. And so only 1 or 2 sessions, and we sorted this out. Once I got this clarity of knowing where do you want to be in 10 years from now. And that was so important. And I hope if you ever have a need of any help with this, to get this clarity, that you can come back to me in confidence and we can have a coaching session using NLP or conversational hypnotherapy or whatever else we need. All the tools work. As long as we get clarity, it's wonderful. And just to be able to move on and be able to make life a more pleasant adventure for us when we have work, we have rest, we have time to play and be ourselves, we have time for our talents. It doesn't have to be 3 hours a day, but let's make sure that we find balance. And balance is a very important thing to reach nowadays. What do you think? Every year there are parents that complain because they've been put again to be the treasurer in the little school, or they have again to organize the Christmas carol and they end up ruining their own Christmas because they have so much to run around, they have no time for their own family. I'm just quoting here and there, trying not to quote real people with real names here, but there are a lot of people that are doing something that I'm not really happy about. And because, we can't find anyone else, you're so good at this. Yes, but I'm so tired. And so sometimes it's important to say no. Maybe it will be 1% of the times. but it's a good thing to learn. Sometimes we have to say no. There are 4 or 5 things to say about this. How to say no. No is a difficult word. And I was told that in Japan you don't say the word no. You say it's going to be very difficult. And that's a polite way of saying no way, that's not going to happen. But we don't have to be, rude or anything. We just be polite and everything is going to be fine. And the important thing is to say no, take a few seconds, think it through, and then say no. And do not list any reasons, just say it's not possible. If you start adding possible reasons, you might create an argument and make the situation a little bit complicated. But also don't say yes or I'll think about it, and then you procrastinate saying no because you feel absolutely guilty about doing it. And then you leave people in a limbo for many days until they think, well, he hasn't said no, so I'm going to count on Johnny to take me to that place. And then in the last minute you're like, no, I really cannot do it. I really can't. And you cancel. And so you took away all their time that they could have used to find somebody else to do the job. So it's important to just say, think it through for a minute and actually, I think I'm going to just leave it for now. Sorry, I just can't do it. Or you can say, sorry, I have other plans. Maybe next time. Just be short, be polite. And people will be thankful that you just said it there and then, instead of, being less than transparent and then letting them down in the last minute, which I think is awful. That's just my way of saying it. It's awful. And so there are benefits that we can gain when we learn to assert our needs and put them in the same balance, at the same level as the needs of everyone else. And the benefit is to understand that we are of value. We have value just like everyone else. So it's important not to push our ego always to the side all the time. The second thing that I notice when you say no, that you can have more focus on your own goals. And that's very important, especially at work, when people can call you here and there, and eventually you have your own stack of documents to take care of. And if you keep saying yes to all the possible productions that we're doing and the shows and everything, but you're not going to be doing your work. So you have to be focused. And focus is a definitely big thing that you can get when you started to say no. And of course, when you do your own tasks, you're going to have a perfect motivation because you have chosen to do it. You haven't been manipulated or made to feel guilty. You've done it because you really wanted to do it. It's a huge thing. Remember, when you are teaching your children to be good students, there is a huge difference when they're studying just because you told them, or when they're studying because they love the subject and want to excel. It's a huge motivational difference, right? And it's the same for us as we grow up. If we keep doing stuff just because we've been told to do it, or just because the boss is going to be upset if I don't add this extra task again, then our motivation is going to be fear or rejection. And it's not a very good vibration or a very positive thing to have in our life. So let's see what we can do about it. This also results in decreased stress levels. Why? Because, of course, if we keep saying yes to everything, even when we no longer have time, we are going to be stressed out. It's just no way that we can do everything in those 8 hours a day. It's just not possible. But if we keep insisting, we're going to have so much stress, we're going to be less focused, and, of course, more tired. So the benefit of learning to say no when it's absolutely necessary is to have less stress, and therefore to be able to sleep better and to wake up more refreshed. The last tool that I think about is the feeling of being trapped or feeling resentful for a task that we hate doing. That feeling will be gone because we will say yes most of the times, but sometimes for the really dreaded stuff that we do not want to do, we will just say no because we just can't be bothered. It's just too much for us. If we possibly can say no, then it's going to be great. And of course, the last thing I noticed is that when we are saying no a few times, then other times we're going to be very eager to say yes. We are going to be eager to offer our help, unsolicited help, because we are so much more full of energy and radiance and just feeling great about ourselves and the direction that our life is going. So we will have time to think through things, to ponder what is important, and we can do a lot more help, service, networking, mentoring, just helping people to reach their own goal. And when we all work together in harmony, which is wonderful. Of course, there are exceptions. There are sometimes difficult situations, like when your boss is the only person that gave you a job. You cannot do anything else about it. If you do not do the extra, you're going to lose your job, and that is not a job. Or you might have a disabled person in the house. So they ask for something and you're the only person that can do it. So you have to say yes. So I'm talking only about the occasions when it is possible to say yes. Nobody's going to be in trouble because of that. And you can appropriately decide for every situation if it's a good idea to say no, or if it's going to be another person in a lot of trouble. So always balance what is important for you, what is important for them. Ask your own soul, your own conscience, what is a good thing to do. So that was it for today. Only half an hour talking about the possibilities of saying no sometimes so that we can have a life. I know it sounds really selfish, but I really had fun preparing this episode, and I hope you had too. And you can click like and share with your friends. So thank you for being with me, and we'll see you later. Bye bye. You have listened to Create with Franz Sidney.